Are markets setting up for a micro-crash analysis? http://ntvforex.com News ID CF909484 2020 9:58:45 AM. Trade balance misses. RBA stays pat. Nikkei 1.70%, DAX 0.26%, UST 10Y 0.54, oil $40, gold $1,974 ounce, TCUSD $11,250, NBSP Asia and the EU. RBA keeps rates steady. NBSP North America. No data. Equities were lower in early European dealing with stock index futures sliding by 25 basis points on slightly risk-off tone, and the dollar resumed its downward slide, losing about 20-30 pips against most of the major pairs. It was a generally quiet and lethargic night of trade, emblematic of the dog days of summer, with news flow at a minimum and most asset markets essentially treading water. The political stalemate in Washington continued, with neither side willing to budge on the next iteration of fiscal stimulus, as Democrats stood firm on the figure of $600 week of unemployment benefits as well as multi-billion aid packages to states, while Republicans mainly focused on liability protections for businesses from COVID. So far the markets have blithely ignored the brewing political and economic risks of a no-deal scenario, partly because such an outcome would be so clearly disastrous to the U.S. economy, where 40% of all households who rented could not pay their rent bill last month. With wide swaths of the U.S. economy still sidelined, the humanitarian costs of the COVID crisis will very quickly explode, so the underlying bet of investors is that despite the posturing, the parties will come to terms in D.C. But the longer the issue remains unresolved, the more nervous the markets will become, and it's not at all inconceivable that equities could be setting up for another micro-crash if politicians dither on the issue of fiscal relief. In FX land, the calendar was quiet, with only RBA decision on tap. The RBA left rates unchanged at 25 BP and essentially kept its wait-and-see outlook intact, casting a wary eye at the state of Victoria, where the outbreak of COVID has forced a lockdown. The central bank noted that fiscal and monetary support will be necessary for a long time, and made no reference to the strength of the currency, which gave Aussie bulls some room to run, with AUD back up towards 0.7150 as it remains within reach of recent highs. The day ahead offers no echo data, and markets are likely to be muted unless fresh headlines come out of DC. If there is no progress in talks as the day proceeds, the risk-off mood that began in Europe could quickly accelerate to the downside. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://mt5.expert.advisors.